Hi. Okay, so what makes me not the son of God? What makes him not the son of God? What makes her not the daughter of God? Why is Jesus the son of God and no one else here is the son of God? What makes him so special that we have to look up to him and say, you're better than us, we should praise you? We're all equal. Every single one of us has the same exact qualities that he has. He just empowered himself in the same way that each one of us has the ability to. We don't have to pray to him. We can be like him in a way by meditating, by self-belief. So what makes me not the son of God?
Well, no offense to you, you're not God in human form. You're a wonderful human being created in the likeness of God, but you're not God, right? No offense to me, but I'm not God.
Why am I not God?
Because you have a birthday and a death day. You're very fickle, very finite, the same way I am. And you didn't create the cosmos, that's for sure.
How do we know?
Well, why don't you just create a rabbit? We'll start there to gain some credibility.
Okay. What if I didn't? Okay, I can't do that.
Well, why can't you create a rabbit if you're God?
Okay, so can Jesus do that?
Yeah, God created more than just rabbits. Created squirrels and human beings and the whole cosmos. Pretty creative being he is.
So, I'm not the son of God.
No, you're not the son of God in the same way that Jesus was the son of God, meaning God in human form. You're a precious human being, a valuable human being who God loves deeply and who God wants to live in relationship with for eternity. But you're not God. No, Jesus is God, not me, not you. Okay, now what's the problem with that?
It's just when everyone looks to an external force as something that we have to pray to or attribute anything to, we don't get to find that internal power inside to grow. And I think that we can all do the same things that Jesus did. I think we can all walk on water. We can all make miracles if we have self-belief. And I think the whole point of Christianity and Christ is to teach us that we can all do those things on our own.
You actually think that if you believe strongly enough in yourself that you can walk on water?
Yeah. Right now, I don't think I have that power. People are laughing, but I think it's totally possible. Have you heard of the idea of The Secret, where you can kind of manifest your own destiny, or manifest what you see, or manifest consciousness? Or have you heard of any of the new physics that's coming out, like metaphysics?
Yeah.
The idea that we can create our own reality. What does that mean? I think we could honestly do anything. What is an out-of-body experience? How does Christianity explain that? In Jesus' story, there's so many evidences of those things happening. I'm not saying that we need to do those things, but things aren't right in this world right now, and I think it's because we're taking the wrong things out of Christianity. If we're able to kind of find this self-belief in ourselves and apply that to everything we do and kind of manifest our own destiny in the way that we want it to, we're getting the right things out of it. But when we just attribute all things to Jesus or to God, we don't really see that inner power inside of us.
Okay, now I like you and I like the way you think because you're articulating a worldview. And you're doing a good job, and I thank you for that, okay?
A worldview?
Yeah, a worldview.
But this is fine.
Yeah, it's your worldview. It's your view of reality, right? And your view of reality is, if you believe something firmly enough, you can make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you honestly believe that if you walk off the edge of that building, sincerely believing that you can walk through the air over to that building, if you believe that firmly enough and affirm that in yourself, you honestly think you can do that?
I think that if there's no doubt, you can do it. But I'm not saying that I can do it right now. I'm not going to say I'm going to go jump off that building, obviously, and see if I can fly over there. I'm not saying I can do that right now. But Jesus, there's so many parts of the gospel that are missing of how Jesus grew up. He came into the Bible at the age of 30. So he could have learned so much before then on how to kind of master those techniques. And I don't think that we all need to learn how to fly. We all need to learn how to walk on water. But having self-belief is kind of the most important thing. And not having any doubt. Doubt is the key. Doubt is what is our downfall. Doubt causes depression. Doubt causes sadness. Without doubt, we're completely self-assured. Yeah, maybe people think having no doubt is crazy, but that's what really living life is.
Having no doubt.
Having no doubt. I'm not saying that we have that.
Okay.
I'm saying that's something that Jesus teaches.
All right. Now, I respect you, and I thank you for articulating your beliefs so clearly, okay? Sir, I have to go into hospitals on a regular basis to visit people because I'm a pastor, okay? If someone has cancer, I don't care how firmly they believe that they're going to get well. They often will die. And for you or me to stand there and say, you know, sir, you know, ma'am, if you just genuinely believe that you're going to get better, then you will be healed. I find that to be very dishonest, very manipulative.
Why is it manipulative? Why is it dishonest? Hope is only good. Hope is only good. There's no downfalls to that. At least trying it. Because there are so many cases of people getting well by believing they can get well. Those exist.
Okay. My experience of reality is...
Wait, can I ask you a question? So what is the placebo effect? How does that occur if that's not the case? People getting better because they think that they're getting better. That's exactly what the placebo effect is.
Okay,
Do you guys know what the placebo effect is? That's exactly what the placebo effect is.
Fine, but please don't use the placebo effect for your next exam. And say, I'm not going to study, I'm just going to believe I'm going to get an A. Don't do that, because you're going to flunk.
Thanks.
All right? Instead, study hard, use the mind that God has given you to get in touch with reality. And I don't care how genuinely you think you're going to get an A, if you don't study and if you don't know the answers to the questions on your exam, you will not get an A. You will flunk. It's called being in touch with reality.
That's just knowing the knowledge of the current day. That's all that is. Taking math tests on calculus, like, why does that matter? Who cares about calculus? We're not born into this world knowing about calculus. Obviously, we don't know about calculus.
I agree with you. The purpose of life is not to learn calculus. I agree 100%. There's more to life than learning calculus. The reason that I, as a follower of Christ, will learn calculus is because I want to get in touch with mathematical reality, with mathematical truth. If I'm not interested in getting in touch with mathematical truth, I will not take calculus. But you see, as a follower of Christ, with the worldview that Christ presents, God has given us rational minds. God has created a real world. And what's really incredible, one of the pieces of evidence that God exists is that you and I have rational minds that can get in touch with the real world. See, that's one of the reasons I respect Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin wrote a letter to a man named Mr. Graham, and in this letter he writes, if it is true that your mind is just a highly developed monkey's mind, why do you trust your mind to tell you the truth about reality? Would you trust the thoughts of a monkey? That's good, Darwin. That's really good. One of the reasons I believe there's a creator God is because I've got a rational mind, and it's far more reasonable for me to believe that my rational mind comes from a rational being than it is reasonable for me to believe that my rational mind comes from non-reason. And every one of my atheist friends has to acknowledge they believe that the rational mind comes from non-reason. That's ludicrous for me. Does that make sense?
Well, what's the point of having a rational mind? Like, why?
That's a great question.
No, why do we need knowledge? Why can't
Exactly.
No, seriously, what?
I'm dead serious. I'm serious with you. It's a great question. I'm not blowing smoke in your face, sir. The point of a rational mind is to get in touch with reality, with truth. There is scientific truth. There is historical truth. And there's relational truth, building friendships. And guess what, guys? Don't trust a liar. Don't trust a con artist. Gather evidence that a person is a person of integrity before you trust them. That's called using logic and reason and then going beyond logic and reason to trust and build a friendship. And that, sir, is what makes life go round and round. Your friendships, my friendships.
But we don't need a rational mind to have feelings. We can have passion, we can have love, we can have sadness without any rational mind. The whole point of life is to be happy. We don't need to learn anything. We could just be happy.
Okay.
Going to school and suffering and taking calculus tests that we don't care about. I'm just using calculus as an example because it's the worst class ever. But seriously, like, learning about all this stuff is only beneficial because that's the way that society's set up right now. If society was set up in a more simplistic way, we wouldn't really need to learn these things and go through all this suffering, do all these stupid college apps for no reason to just, like, make ourselves a portrayal of what's good as defined by society. If society was basic, we can just all be happy and not need abundance of knowledge, because having a rational mind just inhibits our ability to be able to be happy, because we're always thinking about what we need to know, what we don't know.
You bet. Now, sir, I can't tell you clearly enough how I respect you. You're refusing to just fit into the status quo. And I love it. Okay? I like it. Okay, but now, let me show you something what you're doing. Your argument is, we don't need calculus, right? We don't need to fit into the status quo and go to university and develop our minds.
We don't.
Okay. Because all this emphasis on reason is unimportant. That's what I've been hearing you say, right?
Well, we come here because of fear.
Okay, but your whole point has been we just don't need to be rational.
We don't.
Okay.
But I'm saying
what are you using to make your point?
I'm saying that...
What are you using to make your point?
My point about what?
Your whole point, that we don't really need calculus and reason.
I'm saying because you can be happy without calculus and reason.
What are you using to make that point?
There's nothing I need to use to make that point.
Oh, yes, you do. You cannot go blah, 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 blah and make your point. You are using reason, sir. You're thinking creatively. You're trying to allow your mind to not fit into the status quo. But, sir, let's be real honest with each other. You are using reason.
Right now.
Right now.
Okay, but that doesn't require me to learn calculus. This is
That's
a
obvious,
basic conversation that we're having.
It's a basic conversation that is only possible because you and I are talking in a reasonable way that we can understand each other. If I stood here and said blah, 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 ha, 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 blah, 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 our conversation would be gone.
I'm not trying to prove that language. I'm not trying to prove that. I'm really not trying to say that if I didn't know how to speak, we wouldn't be able to have a conversation and this wouldn't be possible. That's not what I'm saying.
That was not my point, sir. My point was, you were saying reason is unimportant, but you were using reason to make your point. Do you see how self-defeating your argument is?
That's not true.
Of course it is. It's no different from the student who steps out and says this. Unless you can scientifically prove something, it's not true. See, that's self-defeating. Why? Because all I got to do is look that student in the face and say, really? Please scientifically prove to me that unless you can scientifically prove something, it's not true. See, it's self-defeating. You can't prove to me that unless I can scientifically prove something, it's not true. It's a self-defeating argument.
So to argue with you, I would have, without reason, I'd basically have to sit on the floor and just meditate or just hum or something.
Exactly.
That's like without reason.
That's exactly right. You're using reason in your discussion with me.
We don't need to learn about calculus. We don't need to learn about all these random subjects that we don't care about.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything about language. I'm not saying I'm speaking to you right now. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm using reason. Reason in my definition.
All right, what's your definition of reason?
It's going nowhere.
Oh, no, it's going lots of where. I love it.
I like it too.
That's why I told you I respect your thinking. You see, sir, what you're dealing with is exactly what the freshmen in humanities at Columbia University in New York City were dealing with when I was speaking there. These guys come out to me and they say, hey, Cliff, how do you know that your brain was not just put together this morning in a vat by a highly intelligent scientist? I thought they were playing games with me. They weren't. They had just gotten out of humanities class. We're at Columbia, a very fine Ivy League school. The professor had been teaching epistemological nihilism, which is, you can't really know anything. I mean, prove to me that a scientist did not create you this morning in a vat. Prove to me that all your memories of last year and the year before are not just memories that scientist put into your head.
Okay, I'm not talking about that right now. I just want to ask you one question.
You bet.
What's the point of having this with the cameras and everyone watching and this question? Because anything that I'm going to say to you, you're going to find a counter argument and say why I'm wrong. So what's the point of having this conversation?
Sir, I am here to introduce people to the closest friend I have, Jesus Christ. But I'm not going to stand here and say Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
No, you're an
Jesus, 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 right? I am
you're
inviting you guys to ask questions. And I'm not just going to stand here and say, believe in Jesus, believe in Jesus, believe in Jesus. No, I'm going to take your question seriously. I'm going to respect you and show that respect by trying to answer whatever the issue is that you're raising.
But I don't see that. Like, we can't have just like a one-on-one conversation. Like, you're talking to everyone else. I just want to speak to you, like, directly.
Well, sure. Then let's get together afterwards and we'll have a Coke, or I don't drink Coke if you do, but well, I'll have my tea and water or whatever, and we can talk over the table if you want to. If you have the time and if I have the time. But right now I've been invited here by a group of students to speak out here in a public forum, and nobody here has a chain from their ankle to the floor that I can see. I'm assuming that you all are here because you choose freely to be here, so this is not some coercive, manipulative activity we're involved in. We enjoy free, honest exchange of ideas. In fact, that's what I thought is the basis of the liberal arts education. We disagree, and we talk about our disagreements, and we ask each other, why do you believe what you believe? And I find that to be part of the university education.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for raising those issues, and I really appreciate it a lot.